What is good, everyone? Welcome to today's aftermarket trade recap. At first, I'm just going to get into kind of like the morning, the afternoon session, everything like that, and then I'll get into the execution. There isn't much throughout the execution part, but I did just want to show how my thinking process throughout the morning and then going into the afternoon and why I took this setup, because it is interesting since I did take it on ES and I have not taken a pretty significant trade on ES in a while. So getting into it, in the morning, I was on in the morning, but right when we were getting into 9:30, so market open, I was just off the charts just because when I logged in, it was right after the news came out, so it was around like 8:50 to 9 a.m. and I just realized we're at all-time highs, or near all-time highs, as the all-time highs was this lunch high from yesterday. And so I just figured I would let kind of price develop and stuff like that. But once I got back, I did see there was a potential entry that I could have gotten. Now, would I have taken it? I don't know. Again, it's all hypothetical when I'm looking at something I missed, but just it's something to look at because it is a pretty significant entry where when I look at it, it's probably something I could have taken. So the reason being is because we had data information come out. We left a pretty significant low, but we were holding this 15 minute, which I don't remember we had an SMT within here. We actually did, as we could see. So that's a pretty good setup already. The fact that we have a SMT, we are touching into a 15-minute PDA array, and then we're at all-time highs. So the bias is pretty clear when everything aligns like that. And then we had 2 1 minutes, obviously going to take the last 1 minute fair value gap inverse once it closed. Could have entered here. Now this internal high, it's too close. As you could see, if I did take it, I would have got stopped at break even. And again, hypothetical in the sense that I don't think I would have done it because it was too close. Now this would have been the break even, or where I would have taken off 5 contracts here. And then yeah, I could take off either here at all-time highs, or like I had the standard deviation drawn out and could have gone to 2.5, or in between. I don't use standard deviation much just because I don't really understand standard deviation. Again, I've seen that it works, but I like to understand why it works. So standard deviation is kind of one of those things I don't fully understand, but usually if I ever have targeted, yeah, I've targeted with standard deviation in the past, but usually it's between the 2 and 2.5. But again, all hypothetical since I did not take this entry. Then this is kind of where the bias starts to play in of why I took the trade on ES today. So if we look at it like a higher time frame, I was starting to notice around lunch session that NQ wasn't really doing much. It was just chopping around in here, looking like a potential breakout to go higher. And that's what I started to want to see when I was looking at ES on a higher time frame. And it's kind of important if I go like to round uh, right here, which is exactly the lunch session. So around 12 p.m. ES wasn't looking like this. So our ES was not following what NQ was doing. And if you zoom out a little bit, it kind of looks like the form of I don't really want to draw out the line, but it starts to kind of look like a fracture of like a market maker sell model. And at this point, I was looking to see us potentially sell off, and the original target was data lows, but just where the fact that we're at all-time highs, and again, my execution was a short. Now, might think it's crazy. I was kind of thinking the same thing, but the setup where that I took on a normal day, not at all-time highs or anything like that, I believe it would be an A plus setup. But the fact that we are at all-time highs, I think it degrades it a lot, probably to like even like a B. But and the reason I say that is because I had strong conviction. On any other day, I would have strong conviction, but I also was questioning myself just because of the fact that we're at all-time highs. So it was a little bit of a tricky day, but thankfully it did work out. But now just getting out a replay real quick. So yeah, it started to look like that, but I figured the fact that we're at all-time highs, data lows just doesn't seem very reasonable, just because especially on NQ we'd have to sell off like 200 points around. So once price actually started to develop, I saw that we had a 15-minute, which when I was looking at, I knew it was going to turn into a 1 hour as long as price didn't run up on ES. But yeah, so it ended up turning into a 1 hour. So things were looking good here. Wanted to start seeing um, us come up into it once 1 p.m. open, and I figured we were gonna have to cross all-time highs on NQ to do that. But that's where I knew the SMT was gonna start forming, and that's exactly what happened. And this is where it gets a little tricky because it's just, again, it looks so good, but NQ is going higher and higher, and it's kind of starting to question myself. But I just, again, I was pretty confident on the conviction. So instead of targeting data lows, I just wanted to target basically on NQ. It was supposed to be like the New York, the lunch low, but on like my end for ES, yeah, that's not exactly coordinated, but I was just looking to take out this 15-minute low that we had inside of the data fair value gap, which is like a 15-minute, a 1 hour. Yeah, probably not a 4 hour. Oh yeah, it was a 4 hour. It ended up forming to a 4 hour at 2 p.m. So yeah, that's exactly what I was looking to target, just because I thought that was a pretty significant draw to target for ES wise. And then this is where, again, if you want to look at this real quick, but this is where I'm going to move NQ over and look mainly at ES now. So once we got into that 1 hour, I wanted to just basically see an inversion. And again, it's a little tricky too because I don't trade ES because a lot of the things that I'm looking for on NQ, it doesn't just really correlate too much for ES, such as like equal highs and equal lows. ES forms so many of those, and it's just, yeah. And then same thing with just price. It's just seeing such like low movement of price is something that's tricky to handle. But it ended up working out here. We ended up getting a fair value gap that we inverse, and I missed the original entry on the first candle. So I entered here, stops about 2 points, which again, it was a pretty crazy trade. It was like a 1 to 5. But for ES, two handles is a pretty significant stop. And just because of how low price moves, I wouldn't say that it's obviously not low liquidity, but I think it's just because of the money that's in ES, and again how it's so big that price, to move ES there has to be very significant money going through it. So yeah, entered here, and then this is where I'll play it out. Now once I had entered, I also did think too, dang, I wish I kind of probably would have went in 10 micros. But I didn't want to exit and re-enter just because my entry was already not exactly where I wanted it to be. And then this low right here, this internal low, was my break even point. I will mark that out. And then this is also kind of too where I was trying to question if I really wanted to target this or just target what looks to be equal lows or relative equal lows on here. But I just was like, I'm just going to let it play out, and whatever happens, happens. Um, and so, yeah, I'll just let it play out real quick. Respected this fair value gap here. That's also I wanted to see. I was also thinking of adding here, but I just did not want to be over leverage with already so many things questioning myself. Ended up hitting the break even point. I'll just move it right here. And then, yeah, I will let it play out here. As you can see, it did actually take a while to eventually hit the final TP. I wouldn't say, I mean, got close. Yeah, like 1.71 and 0.75 handles away from being stopped out. But again, that's pretty significant on ES. And then, oh, let me draw the TP. Oh, yeah, there we go. I think it probably it doesn't take it out again, but took it out right there, as you can see. And yeah, that was the execution for today. And then I'll go on the top step, show it too real quick. There it is. And yeah, so very interesting day just with everything going on and the fact that I traded ES, but it just, once I saw that forming during the lunch hour, that was kind of my conviction, and I wanted to do it on ES just because it looked, NQ wasn't being clear to me, and ES was showing me something that look clear. Again, there was a lot of questionings within myself, but I just figured take it, put it on. I'm only risking two handles, so $100 for ES. Why not do it for a pretty good risk to reward? Again, about 1 to 5. So yeah, that is it for today. And then again, we're getting closer to the holiday season. I don't really know what this month is going to look like. I am going to try to finish and pass this account within this month. I think I'm going to be a little more aggressive just because it's the end of the year and I kind of just want to get it passed with, the fact that price action might start to be uh, sort of bad with the holidays coming up. And I know usually every year it starts to kind of take a while for price to start getting good again. So I'm going to be a little more aggressive on this eval and just try to get it passed. And then after that, I probably won't be trading on the Express until price action starts to get good. So that's it for today, and hopefully I will get it past this week. So I'll see you guys maybe sometime this week, or well, today's Friday, so next week. So I'll hopefully see you guys sometime next week. Peace out.